Think we're live.
Yes, I think so.
Cool.
Okay, excellent. Ooh, well, welcome everybody to whoever's here. I don't remember if I set the setting of saving the video.
I think it's automatically set.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't remember. It's been so long. Oops. Oh well, too late. Oh well, but yeah. So let's talk about Raya and the Last Dragon. We just watched it over dinner. So this is so spoilers if you haven't watched it yet. So it's still on Premiere Access. So we had to pay. I think it was $30 on Disney Plus. I think the Premiere Access ends like maybe next month.
Yeah, sometime in May.
Yeah. But it did come out. It came out in March. And yeah. So spoilers if you haven't watched it, or if you do plan to watch it. We will be just diving into the film and talking about all these fun things. We're basically reviewing the film, and I think for me personally, I definitely want to talk about, I guess, cultural representation and give a special shout out to it for Asian representation in like animated media. So this is the episode 3 of the Dang Brains podcast. I know we've taken kind of a long break. We're very academically minded, so we don't abide by the times. we don't abide by the laws of time and meeting deadlines or anything like that. We just fly by we follow whatever academia takes us. We follow the breadcrumbs of whatever thing we're researching. So yeah, I've been excited to watch this film. So I'm excited to watch it. I was excited to finally see it with you because there was so much hype for it last month in March. With my work at Pack Arts, we gave out free tickets. It was like a premiere. It was like an exclusive premiere with all of the Asian American film festivals last month. It was so exclusive. I think it was like only something really small, like only 100 tickets per film festival. So there was so much hype for it that like the tickets sold out so fast, or like the free tickets were redeemed extremely fast because so many people were like all about it. So that was interesting to watch it on like the Disney back end too. I didn't watch it at that time, so tonight was my first time watching it. But all about the representation, because Raya and the Last Dragon was representing Southeast Asia, like as in general. It's an imaginary place, basically, but kind of like a fairy tale that has Southeast Asian elements in it. And the voice actress for Raya is Kelly Marie Tran from Star Wars, and she's a native San Diegan too. I think I know people who like know her, like went to high school with her, and as I guess me as like a casual Star Wars fan, like I root for her, and I totally appreciate her standing up to like the cyberbullying that she endured, and so it was great to see her like come back in such a big role, especially with Raya and the Last Dragon. Did you see that red carpet dress of hers?
No.
Raya and the Last Dragon. It was so beautiful. Like the dress, she got like a custom made aoyai.
Oh wow.
Kan dong. It was like, it's not just an aoyai. It was like a full. It's the one with has the hat too, and it's like, it looks like this, and it was a Vietnamese American fashion designer who made this for her. And I was like, oh, Like, this is like more, this is next level. Like, this isn't even a wedding dress. This is just a gown. A gown of, I wonder if we can I do that? Can I show the window?
Yeah.
Of,
So you...
I will, okay. Yes, so this one, and there was her dress, and it's so beautiful.
Okay.
Oh, okay. This, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
can...
I'm just gonna show it. Like, this is how beautiful the dress was. The big nong was the hat. So beautiful. And just, I was like, yes. So happy to have her back. But yeah, those are my like first initial fangirl moments of this movie was her. So so what are your initial thoughts about the film?
I thought it was great. It's super Asian, which was super cool. It like, you know, just the film itself. It looked really good. The story was really, you know, really solid. It was it has a style to it that's like, obviously it's kind of like part of the Disney formula of the princess narrative, and then you have the like goofy sidekicks and all, and the pet and everything. But there were a lot of moments where I was like, damn, this is like straight out of Asian cinema. Like just intercutting like sort of like, you know, drama and sort of comedy, and then just like the just the dramatic shot of Raya like angry walking through the streets. I was like, damn, this is like a Chinese action revenge flick right now. It's just like she's about to kill someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super great, and I thought even though it's a you know, it's fantasy land, there's so much representation for a lot of Southeast Asia just throughout the whole thing. One thing I picked up on that I really liked was the it was pretty like non-apologetic use of a different language.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It sounded, I'm guessing, Indonesian or like it was a Southeast Asian language for sure. But like just like throwing out those words when she like when Raya talks shit about her. That's not helpful. Talk shit about her rival, and then just the fact that they throw it around is pretty cool.
I can't find the article, but I feel like I read that it is a made-up language. Like Kumandra and all these words are kind of pulled from multiple cultures of Southeast Asia, of like the peninsula and the islands there. Because we see that visually, as well as like we see that visually really clear in that all the different tribes were meant to be, or to me it was very meant to be kind of explicitly stereotyped in a way of like, oh, this tribe is this color and they look a certain way, and then these people are like slightly different tan shade, right? Slightly different tan shade. They're in a different region. But I feel like I saw in an article that the Kumandran language was created, I think, similarly to I guess like Atlantean language, like from Atlantis, the Lost Empire. Like they kind of made up that language. But I feel like I remember Kelly herself like suggested Vietnamese words to add into the Kumandran language. Like she calls her father Ba. Well, obviously they say Ba, but I was like, Ba as in father. For father in Vietnamese, and and then I saw this one, like Depla is used as a term of endearment, and it reveals the term means best friend in the Kumandran language, but like Dehwa, like it is beautiful in Vietnamese. But I don't remember hearing this.
Yeah, that says it's in the novelization.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cool that they went through the effort to like have that sort of language representation, even if it is like a sort of conlang that they made. It's nice that they did it. It definitely fits the vibe of like being Asian in a way that's like I guess it kind of reminds me of Avatar in a way, like even though it's never explicitly said, it's like, well, besides the writing, it's never explicitly said it's like, oh, this is Chinese, it's supposed to be you know, Japanese inspired, Korean inspired, but they throw like, you know, Ba Sing Se and Aang and Katara and all that to sort of like get you into that to immerse you in there. You know, I thought it was a really nice touch to do that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah, so like linguistically, like you picked up on that, because I feel like maybe someone who may not know may not recognize distinctions between Southeast Asian languages. Probably like couldn't tell, like they're just like, no, it's a made up language, or they may assume that it's one language or another. But
it definitely, the words that they used, definitely they sounded Southeast Asian to me. Like if you were to just tell me Kumandra, like I would immediately assume it's like, oh, that must be an Indonesian word, or you know, like in the sort of that region. It sounds very similar to words there. And you know, it's a nice touch, because a lot of the times in like the fantasy world, especially in Disney films, I feel like you lose a lot of like of where it comes from, really, because like, you know, Frozen, you wouldn't know that it's supposed to be from Scandinavia unless you like really thought about it, because they're not explicitly Vikings or something. And then
except for Kristoff, you know.
That's true.
Yeah, when they're like really, really in the snow with that family. But otherwise it just generic European royal family castle.
Unless it's like supposed to be explicitly a region like Brave, or like Mulan. I feel like you don't get a clear sense all the time, especially with Disney films. Of like, oh, this is supposed to be sort of an Asian place, or reminiscent of you know, like Germany or something. So yeah.
It's interesting that you bring up Avatar, because like Avatar: The Last Airbender, because that's super. It's super like similar vibes of like the tribes are separated by color, and they're like they're slightly different, and then also the wisdom from the dad, right, where he's like, we can all be one again, and I'm like, this is very Uncle Iroh. Or like you know, the lines between the four nations, you know, and all those things, we can be reunited, and then
all nations as one.
And then very much like the super special effects at the end with it was like, I was like, this is harmonic convergence, you know, with like the Wong and like the purple lights like taking over the whole continent, I guess. I was like, this is very, very similar. But I think we can even, you're right in that we can pinpoint it to much older like Asian cinema that like maybe even like the wuxia genre too. Because I feel like it also gave me similar. It also reminded me of Hero. So I don't know if you remember Hero, where they were all different tribes, like different colors, like different kingdoms, and they were all trying to take down the one kingdom. But then every time they talked about the story, the colors would be different. Like it was kind of like like kind of like a time skip or like a different scenarios thing, but definitely a strong use of color. So like when they were in one particularly I think the one storyline in Hero where it was like there's like a love triangle, then all of the people were in red robes for that storyline, and then when it was something different, they were different colors. But yeah, so there's reminiscent of that too, and then in Hero it's like China is one land, and like.
Divided into 4 kingdoms.
Yeah. And then
it definitely draws a lot of inspiration from that stuff, and it's super cool. Because seeing Raya do like the badass walk, about to take down some people, I was like, I totally thought this was like straight out of a wuxia film. When she's like lone survivor riding along, has the bamboo hat and everything, throws it off to like duel. I was like, this is a kung fu movie now. It's not even a Disney film. Which it's very cool, and it's really cool that they were able to mix like basically a lot of genres and keep it in that sort of in that similar vein. Because that's kind of the Asian way, like I don't know if I've seen a single like piece of Asian cinema that doesn't have a fight scene. Like and like a good fight scene. And Raya had a lot of good moments like that. So.
Like the big like pan shot, like from like the bottom of the stairs where Wong dramatically says like, "Oh, she is blinded by her rage," That was pretty good. But like you see them fighting in the background, and it's like that they're fighting. You can see even like so that attention to detail in the animation is like even though they're far away, the action is still like very strong and detailed, and you can see them flipping over each other and beating each other up. So that was an interesting aspect. How did you feel about the portrayal of dragons in this story?
I thought it was a very interesting choice, and it kind of like a lot of the mythos that they set up at the beginning of like, oh, the dragons are sacred, they bring the rain and everything, they're ancient and wise and all powerful. It was like, okay, this is basically straight out of like the actual Asian mythology, and then having I can't remember the name now, Sisu, right? Be sort of overly optimistic, sort of flawed character in a way. I thought it was really good. It was really interesting. It's a step away from tradition for sure. Since it's just like it, not just like tradition, but like cinema tradition too. Every time you see a dragon depicted in like anywhere, it's like, oh, ancient wise dragon, da 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 da. But it was super cool, and I thought it stayed pretty true to like stylistically. It made a lot of sense, and I appreciate. I was worried that when Sisu was first revealed to sort of be a little bit happy-go-lucky and like not entirely certain of herself and everything, that I was like, I was worried she was gonna just be the comic relief in the story of like oh, Raya's the hero and the last dragon is kind of a screw up, and we're just gonna get like you have to babysit the dragon to go through stuff. But it made sense in context, and it was about like why Sisu is the way she is, and how it all comes together. I thought it was really great.
I mean, like comparing it to the animated Mulan for Mushu, like he was comic relief, but he he also assisted, but he was more of like support versus Sisu helped Raya realize the truth. Sisu was the one who was more wise and had those revelations about about the anti-hero basically, and about Namari, and was the one to influence Raya versus Raya having to figure it out herself. Like Raya had to learn it from Sisu.
Yeah.
So
it was a different take on like the very classic Asian mentor figure. And it worked as a good foil for Raya. You know, that she's, Raya's very pessimistic and like can't trust anybody and all that, and Sisu is happy-go-lucky and does kind of screw around sometimes, but does so with a purpose. In fact, actually, it is very Uncle Iroh, like in a similar way. Like actually, the even though they're happy and jovial, it's there's a reason for it. It's to restore their apprentices' faith in the world. Whereas Mushu is definitely a lot more comic relief than Sisu was, even though Sisu had her moments. I feel like Mushu is more of like the very the stereotypical like hard ass mentor, like you're a screw up kind of thing.
He's like the tough love one. Yeah.
You gotta work your ass, Mulan. So yeah, but it was different takes, and it was pretty cool, and it was very humanizing to for like Sisu to not be all powerful and like solve all the problems. It's like Sisu feels, if Sisu's like, oh, I'm not the most powerful dragon, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I can't solve everything because I don't, necessarily know how to, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And that it's about, teamwork and all that stuff.
Yeah. I agree with that. That Sisu not being the, because you can I feel like you can like kind of tell that buildup of like, oh, we have to go find Sisu, like when it's the two girls and they're talking, it's like, oh, we can go find her, she's at the end of the river, and like she's like the light at the end of the tunnel, she's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and then when you find her, she doesn't realize what's happened, and it, like everything's messed up, and she's like, oh man, how do I fix it? And because she's just oblivious to time passing, like she's just frozen in that. So she is like, I feel like Sisu is like, Sisu basically went through the Aang transformation really quickly, because basically, like Raya pulled her out of whatever, the proverbial iceberg, and then they have to save the world in like 3 days, So going through that timeline really in an accelerated way, but because she's a mystical being, then it makes sense that she would be able to quickly get back into the groove of things and figure things out.
And ultimately, and it's like in contrast to Aang, it is not Sisu's movie. Yeah. Sisu is the sort of the mentor figure, the kind of the linchpin in it, but it's not. The story isn't about her, so that's why she doesn't have any sort of character development like Aang does. Yeah. Because she doesn't need it. She's already where she needs to be. It's Raya that needs to go through the whole sort of tragic hero finding her way into the world sort of thing. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. And speaking of Raya, I really liked the choice that they made of sort of always making us a little bit unsure about Raya, about like where she is. Because like at the beginning, we just see her as like a lone wanderer, and then she says that she did whatever happened to the world is her fault, and then the first like 5 minutes is her sneaking into the dragon to the dragon gems shrine to try to steal it, and then of course we get the expectation subversion that she's actually the chieftain's daughter. But I like that because I think it sets up the tone well for Raya, that she's sort of like an edgier character, that she's
Mm-hmm.
sort of, she's like, we support her, but, she has these flaws that she personally admits. And, like, yeah, there's a lot of the times where you see Raya and you're like, I'm not really sure about your decision here, and I think that was a very, um, it was a really good choice to focus on like that character development. I think.
Yeah.
Especially it like again in comparison to, um, for example, Mulan, the live action Mulan, where Mulan has no character change throughout the entire movie, um, and except for like something that like something about the witch or something like that, but like even that is like not really so fundamental of a change. Um,
Oh, that's right. I
yeah.
totally forgot
Yeah.
about her about her lack of development because I just blocked it from my memory.
Yeah, but like other Disney films too, because it's always like, it is. I feel like the trend in Disney is very like this character has no flaws, or if they do, it doesn't matter. Like that's just their personality, and they're gonna power through and do whatever, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Whereas Raya, it's very clear from the get go. It's like, okay, she's a flawed individual. She's learning, and she's going to make it through this. And at the end, she's going to do the one thing she thought she could never do. So I thought that was a really great choice, because it really focuses the whole story.
Yeah.
Again, it's very reminiscent of like Zuko from Avatar, of like going from the whole issue starting and her hating Namari to at the very end trusting her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, like she accomplished her mission, but in a way that she wasn't expecting, like with allies that she wasn't expecting. So yeah, showing her as a flawed character, a traumatized character was really interesting. I think that is, I feel like that is it the Disney formula, or is it just cinema formula in itself? Like the hero's journey is like someone has to suffer something crazy,
Yeah, someone's got to die, and that'll send you on a path to self-actualization and save the world. Something. So it's kind of the classic hero's journey in a way. To harkens all the way back to to in cinema history to like to Star Wars. Luke's foster parents have to get burned alive for him to finally go on the journey. But I think it was handled well. It's not like, story wise, it's not groundbreaking or anything, because it's a kind of story that you've heard a million times, but it's very unique in its own way, in the style of it, and it's worth it on its own. And I think it's a very bold choice, since it at the end of the day, it is a Disney film, so it's it's intended for a younger audience, and the fact that the end moral of the whole story is that you should, you need to come together and to trust other people, to rely on other people, and sort of throw off like, trusting and forgiveness. And all of that is very, it's a very deep meaning. It's very Buddhist. Like, it's super Buddhist. So yeah, it's a bold choice to go with that. Rather than the generic, love conquers all, or if there's a will, there's a way. It's like, you can't stab your way to everything. Sometimes you you know, rely on others. And I thought that was a really good message.
Yeah. Yeah, you bring up the word forgiveness is a huge one. Yeah, because like in the end, like she forgives the person who hurt her first, right? At the end, and like both like I guess the victim of that and the perp of that situation have their own like come to trust moment, right? Like by the very end, like a happy ending, because they both learn from that experience. So I think it also shows that even though you hurt somebody, there's still room to learn from your mistakes and either like atone for those things that you've done to hurt people, and sometimes there's room for that person to forgive you for hurting them. So that is a really powerful moment too. Like none of that is guaranteed. So like even there's like all those moments of tension of like, is she going to trust her? Is she not going to trust her? Is she going to betray her again? Or is she not going to betray her? Like the two of them, like the two lead women in the story, they were grappling with their own development and their own sense of I guess like their own sense of pride and their own sense of like what they thought they did what they thought was right, right, as teenagers, because the other girl was following what her mother told her to do, and then this girl was following what her father told her to do, and they're both like they're both fighting for the same thing, is like world peace basically. And they had to go through their own journeys together, whereas like Raya had to, because she lost like her one family, she had to experience a found family, which was Sisu, which was the crazy boat kid, and then the pickpockets, like the monkeys, and then Wong at the end too. She had to have a found family teach her trust and teach her those things, and then Namari had to see it, like when, because I think we both reacted at the part where it's like the chief of Fae, like her mom was like so savage, and we're like, whoa, that's so savage, and so she has to see it from her mom, like she has to see what her mom's decision is, and she is grappling with like what to do, because the expectation of her mom and her tribe is to go one way, but then her heart and her experience have channeled her to go another way. But then she still made that choice at at the end to betray Raya again, but it's like she had to stumble, and she had to commit those things to feel something. Raya had to forgive her for those things, and then Namari was able to learn from that. Raya, Raya learning how to forgive her more than once, right? Was a really powerful thing. So my question actually for you is, like, this story was powerful. The story has a lot of different, like, intersectional representation, so it has Southeast Asian elements that are really obvious. Many of the voice actors are East Asian. Kelly identifies as Vietnamese, so she's Southeast Asian, and so it was a diverse cast. It could have been, of course, there's always room for improvement, but like the addition of Asian American API cast members for the voices was great. Writing, animation, and the visual elements has diversity in it, but also because it was all the main characters were female, basically, and then the supporting characters were male. So my question to you, being, I'm Asian female and you're Asian male, like, do you think this story would have made as much of an impact if it was two boys, like, fighting over this?
Ooh.
If it was like male dragon and then two teenage bro boys, like, yeah. Or do you feel like this kind of storytelling, it just makes sense to have it be two female warriors?
I don't really know, but I feel like the thing is that it's very distinguished, I think, for being a pretty female dominant cast. It distinguished itself really hard because, like, of course, all the good things would still stay the same if this was the prince, the two princes fighting over the dragon gem with the male dragon. But like, I feel like it's almost on the edge of like, have I seen this somewhere before? Like,
it's like, is this Dragon Ball Z? You know?
Yeah, because it's very. I mean, it's very similar to. If it's, you could. I feel like I've seen 100 stories of like the two brothers who were, had a big fight and then they fell out of each other and then came together and saved the world and whatever. And I definitely I think the choice of making it females, a pretty female dominant cast was a good one, especially given like the history of Asian cinema, especially either having only male protagonists, or if you do cast a female in one of the leading roles, that is not like leading lady, then it is always like the evil empress, or like the main villain is like the evil woman or something. And it definitely has an impact, I think, in the long term to go with that decision. With that too, I think it was really interesting, and also in the terms of the story, it was a really good decision. To at the end, there is not really a villain in the whole movie. Like, Namari is kind of an anti-hero, but we sort of start to see her perspective by the end, and then they, obviously they come together. I thought that maybe, when you made that comment that that Namari's mom is pretty savage, I was like, she gives me kind of like Empress Wu vibes, like the Empress of China has no morals, sort of thing. But she turns out to not be. It's just sort of a. We understand at the end, at least implicitly, that it's just like a complicated political game that they're playing, because they're trying not to take blame for whatever happens. So it's like everybody has their angle, and nobody winds up, as the main villain, as the big enemy. And I think that was a really good choice. It doesn't villainize anybody. You can't, go for some subtext, like if like a dude turned out to be the main, I created the darkness, then be like, someone could point at that and be like, this is a metaphor about, men are bad or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But it was just, it was really and truly a story about like coming together and forgiving and starting new. And I thought that was really great.
And it is like, well, I think it's the villain, quote unquote, is like you are your own worst enemy. Like you can trust the wrong person and that'll hurt you, or you can choose not to trust the right people and that'll hurt you, because like Sisu's like monologue about what the dark forces were, these purple orb thingies, like we don't even know what they are, like it's just like a dark cloud, but like her monologue on that was like, it grows from human discord, it grows from human conflict. So it's like, that's the villain. The villain is you are your own worst enemy. When people aren't together, they are divided and they cause more chaos in the world. The balance, the four nations are four because the Avatar brings balance to the world, blah blah blah, and then harmonic convergence not being in line with the spirits. So it's like this is like the world is not in line with the dragons. That's why the dragons had to be taken away, etc. So there's parallels in both of those stories.
Yeah.
The visual thing that I really liked in the beginning with the dragon story was because I remember learning about Indonesian, like Javanese music and the wayang shadow puppetry. So that's from Java, Bali. So from those areas of Indonesia, they have those big shadow puppet things. And then you see it there's that one part in Fang where the queen is like telling the kids a story and they're doing the shadow puppets in the background. Yeah. So like having that visual intro in the beginning be like an actual it was cool because it like gave me, it's similar to Hercules, Disney's Hercules, and they had those like Greek aesthetics and like Greek pottery aesthetics, and this one was like, oh wow, this is like very clearly like calligraphy scrolls and puppets and all these shadows. So I really liked those visuals in the very beginning of the film. It was very clear. I also appreciated. I remember we made a big deal about the clothes in live action Mulan.
Yeah.
And we're like, those are not all, like, those are Chinese clothes, but they don't fit. Like, it doesn't look correct. It didn't feel correct to us. But yeah, all the different tribes, like, they all wore distinct styles of clothes that were very reminiscent of Southeast Asian cultures. I think I'm not like, we would have to look at them more closely and then really think about what those cultures may be representing, because I think both of us are more like, we're more familiar with what like Han Chinese clothes look like. Right. We're not like we're not too knowledgeable on Southeast Asian clothes, but I remember the chief, the old lady chief. I think those clothes, I feel like those look like Hmong clothes, like Miao people and Hmong, those Hmong clothes where it's like very striped and like have the headdresses and things like that. But it was cohesive and like it helped that each of the zones were color coordinated too. Yeah. So you could tell that they were all a certain way.
And and I definitely appreciate that they went with such a like colorful spectrum of clothing designs, because I think that's, it's not only just like cinema that depicts Asian movies, but just like movies in general, especially nowadays, are so gray and like beige, and all the clothes are like desert color or generic sort of color, and it was very clear that the clothes in the from the five cultures were very colorful, very vibrant, very intricately designed and everything. And I thought it was really great with that. Speaking of representation of the various cultures, I think it was really, even though the fantasy world is a little weird because it geographically doesn't make sense that there's like multiple ends to the multiple rivers ends, but like that
I was like, is that supposed to be a delta?
Yeah, it's a delta that doesn't have an ocean because there is no ocean in their world or whatever, but like it's a It's a fantasy world that the ocean doesn't exist, I guess.
Is that planet a sphere or is it flat?
Yeah, but I did think that the most striking sort of, I think, cultural choice, I think, was to make it very Southeast Asian by making everything connected by the river. Because river culture is so important to us, and to have everything, because it's not just river culture represented, because I know there's the desert tribe and there's the snow tribe, And there is, of course, Indonesian representation too, but like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that that it is pretty reminiscent of the
Mm-hmm.
Mekong
Mm-hmm.
River,
Yeah.
or of Indonesia, which of course, water
Mm-hmm.
is very important to their
Yeah.
culture as well.
Yeah.
It definitely made it very distinctly Southeast Asian to me,
Mm-hmm.
just like right from the get go.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really a really great choice.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So Mekong serves.
Vietnam and Laos, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and Cambodia, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah. So that's super like I think that is the vibe that they're trying to give. I mean, it was cool to see. Yeah, like now when you see like the map, it's like, oh, it's a dragon in the water, and but you're right, and like is there what's the gravity? Is it a spear? Because now we're thinking like too much into it, because then like so it must be flat then if they're just going this way instead of going the other way to find places.
but
Yeah, and having them all be like having them all use water as a source of protection. I mean, one against the ghosty orbs was was the protection, but because their livelihood is on the river. Their life force is water based. Because even in Heart, it was like a river bridge that the chief was on, and then even in like that temple thing, there was like water there too. So I also appreciated that the dragons were water dragons and not fire dragons, because that is a cultural mythological aspect of like Asian dragons that I feel like this is the first time it has gone like Western mainstream to like know that there's some Asian dragons that are water based, because
the most important ones are water dragons in Chinese culture at least.
So there's definitely the dragon stories in Chinese culture that I've taught where it's like, oh, tell me what comes out of a dragon's mouth, and most of the kids are like, fire. They're fire breathing. I'm like, no, Chinese dragons are actually really nice. They bring water and the rain and the storm clouds. That's why in these pictures there's all these clouds around them, and they bring rain to like harvest things. So me personally, as like an educator, like I appreciate that. I was like, cool, like what a really blatant like mainstream depiction of important water dragons, because then that also subverts people's expectations, because when you think dragon, if you've only been exposed to Western dragons like Sleeping Beauty, even Mushu is a fire dragon too, right? Game of Thrones, those dragons are like outdoor, they're fire breathing, they're mystical, it's like they bring destruction and chaos, but having these all of them be like very very detailed and like apparent, like they're just water dragons, and bring life in through water was really cool.
I thought it was great too.
Cool. Do you have any other comments on the good things about Raya? Any like last words?
Let me think. Okay. This is more my expertise, but I really appreciated the weapon design in Raya. First off, the martial arts is the choreography for the martial arts is pretty good. Especially as far as like animated fights go. They did really well there. But the designs for the weapons were very well done. The main weapon that the chieftain of Heart uses, and then Raya inherits from him is a I believe it's called a Kristnaga, which is a traditional Indonesian sword. I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
And it's very distinctive because it has that wavy design. And it was really cool to see, because a lot of the times You know, it's very different. It's very, you know, it has that Southeast Asian flair to it.
Yes.
Obviously, it turning into like a big sort of chain whip sword thing is pretty cool. It reminded me of Ivy from Soul Calibur. So, so that was cool. Not historical, but you know, it's cool to have. It's fancy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the having a very distinctive like Javanese sword was cool. When Raya first fights her dad in the first scene, she comes at him with two sticks, and it's not clear. But I'm pretty sure the two-stick fighting is a reference to her using Kali, which is a Filipino martial art, actually. Since she uses the dual-wield sticks against his sword. I thought, that like struck out to me, and it's like, ooh, nice.
Yeah.
The Screamer sticks, that's what they're called.
Okay.
So that was really cool to see. All the other. There's not a lot of weapons that are really showcased besides those. Nimari has two swords, which is that tracks. I'm pretty sure they're two shorter swords. That tracks with I believe Kali in Filipino martial arts you typically use two swords. But you know their designs are very distinctive.
Yeah.
You know the only one I can't place is of course the spine people with giant axes, but like
I know.
But those are very clearly meant to be sort of over dramatic because they're like the giant people, I guess. Which I don't know what's like sort of stereotype that's leaning into exactly.
They felt very European-ish to me, like Vikings in the mountains, because they were like the snow people too. But they're in the snow, and I'm like,
I got sort of like like Siberian tribes or like northern cognate sort of vibes.
Yes,
like
Wong. You know?
Like the giant men of the north sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you know, it was.
I mean, like Tong reminded me of Shan Yu.
yeah.
I was like, the Huns, the Huns are back.
Which is, it's cool. You know, in its own way.
Yeah. Because they had crazy axes, and I was like, that looks like a Viking axe of some form. But. Yeah, I thought it was cool. I think it was a very good choice for the film to have like a lot of Southeast Asian representation, but to have it not be sort of like explicit. It's like you know, this is the land of the Mekong River. These tribes, blah blah blah. These are what you know Cambodians look like or something like that. It was very referential, and I think it served the story well, to sort of have that really hardcore world building, and I think it served like the purpose well to have it be like, you know, it's paying homage to all these traditions without trying to explicitly stereotype people or anything. Yeah.
Because like for example, like it you could very easily take it wrong. The what is it? I forget which place it is, but the river people, the boat people, how they are sort of they're depicted in Raya's first statement of being like a stereotype sort of swindler.
Very pirates. Yeah.
Piratey, you know, you can't get anything past them. They're going to try to steal from you and everything. You know, if that was explicitly stated to be like these guys are Vietnamese. It's like, I feel like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
But, of course, we learned, that they're not all like that.
Yeah.
And that they are, very, very, they have all their own their own reasons, and, like Sisu shows, there are, a lot of them are just legitimate merchants that don't want to, why are you trying to steal from us, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a really good choice.
Yeah.
And it definitely made me feel happy that like this is something that I could watch, and it feels familiar in a very good way.
Yeah.
Like that tribe, it looks like Vietnam. It looks like the Mekong River. It looks like the boat that they travel on is very clearly the same kind of boat that our parents rode on. When they were going up and down the river.
Yeah.
And and I think because you were pretty close to crying a couple times during it, and I think part of that is just the pure fact that Raya calls her dad Ba.
Yeah.
Is like it hits so much closer to home when
my daddy issues.
When it's got that representation more than it does. It's like, I miss my father. And it's like, it's like, oh, Ba, and like, he misses her Ba. So yeah, that was really great.
Yeah.
And it's one of those movies where it's like, whenever one of these things comes out, you always have to be happy that if we were to show this to the next generation, to Joey and Jax and Max and Gwen, to show them that they can identify themselves in there, like, I want to be Raya when I grow up, And,
I want to wear Raya for Halloween,
I want to do all that stuff, and like, oh, I want to go I want to live where the heart people live, or where the tail people live, or whatever. I thought that it's really great for that purpose, for sure.
My point of pride, and also the resolution at the end, is realizing that in Raya's whole hero's journey, she picked up people from every tribe. Every tribe that had somebody to help her complete the mission, save the world. Whereas her going into it, even as a teen, it's like, she's gonna do it. She's gonna fix the problem. It's all her fault. She's gonna do it all by herself. And that's part of her trust issues. Yeah. That's part of her trust lesson, is she had to learn to accept the help of all these different people. And they're people from all these different tribes to help her. With finally at the end, is like her enemy, her sworn enemy, helps her at the end. Which, I felt that resolution at the end. I was like, oh crap, they're all from different places, Whoa, duh, mind blown, So I felt really happy to see that, to realize that she needed all of those. And and she needed those other humans to save everything. Whereas, when you start the story, she thinks she has to find Sisu, and Sisu's gonna save everything. Even then, where they're like, oh, we're just, Ryan and Sisu are gonna fix it. But then Sisu teaches her that lesson by teaching her how to trust people with her storytelling. So... So that was an emotional moment. I was like, oh man, her sacrifice, it was super, I feel like it was really, really powerful, at the end, definitely the one land thing, gives me Jet Li's Hero vibes.
Yeah.
All those kingdoms have to unite with under Emperor Chin, But we know, Emperor Chin is not the same as Chief Bencha for sure. Yeah. Qin Dynasty was not trying to unite for good reasons.
But it's a very classic Asian story. It has echoes throughout. throughout all of cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'd say like overall, I liked the film. I enjoyed it. What like do we have any criticisms of it? Like I think we both feel pretty positive about it. Like we want other kids to see it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I felt like we felt personally attacked with like live action Mulan, of like because of just all of like the cultural work that we've done and all the history that we know, and I didn't feel like anything was misplaced. I think except for the spine people, like, but you know, I feel like also you're right in that because they weren't outwardly trying to put actual human cultures of this world into their fantasy world, like they just did like Avatar, like they did world building of like a fantasy place that is very much inspired by Asian cultures. That was safer, right? Safer than Mulan saving China. This is not the China we know, kind of thing.
Right.
So that was good on them to like create this world and yeah, take like the Avatar route on it.
Yeah, and it ironically, despite them not going for a full on, you know, like this is where we are, these are the people that we have, it does a better job at representing those cultures than live action Mulan did, or than, you know, even in some ways, you know, Avatar isn't 100% like you know, true cultural representation either. Yeah. Raya does it very well, I think. You know, there's no evil witch or anything, or anything like that. And yeah, I thought the movie was really good. It's definitely one that I would recommend for people to watch. And yeah, I don't think I have very much else to say. It was a great movie.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, do we have any criticisms or sore points at all with the film?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there it suffers a little bit from just movie pace, since it is a full journey through the five lands sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like we have that we have to cut stuff out to make runtime.
Yeah.
So I thought that, you know, and I thought that it does kind of feel like if this was a TV series, like a one-season series, instead of a movie, that there could be a lot more of that character development.
Yeah.
We could see a lot more of you know, Namari and her side of the story and all that stuff, and all the different tribes and everything. But you know, if I thought it worked really well with the limitations that it had. And if my complaint is that we didn't get enough of it, then that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like when you compare it to a TV show, it feels like the pilot first episode and like the series finale, that's like a 2-episode special, and then that's like 2 hours of content, you know?
Yeah.
So there's all of that filler or storytelling in the middle. Yeah, that would have been cool. Like, I think it would be interesting. I wonder if Disney animation is going to dive into not just films but TV in the future. Because like they seem to be focused on, we want to create the product, which is a film, so that people can, so that there's expensive voice actors, right? Like these are like traditional actors, and they are being cast as voices for these films, you know, high budget productions for this final product, and it's a 2-hour film. But I wonder if they will dive into the TV realm again, because I feel like there's possibilities there. I think for me, I think for both of us, like, we're excited about Avatar Universe getting funding, right? But Nickelodeon, it's like they finally are funding Avatar Universe to get more TV shows out of that, because the Avatar universe can't just be contained into movies. Like, it's barely contained into 2 TV series, right?
Right.
Aang, and then Korra. And then I have on my bookshelf, like, in my office, like, 12 books, like, there's so much more. So it's like, it's about time that Nickelodeon, I don't know. So I don't know if Disney wants to compete in that realm of, let's try to do animated TV again. So I feel like I don't have too much criticism either, because I felt like it was like a great taste of that world. It does leave you wanting more. It does leave you wanting to see, you kind of like want to see what happens next sometimes, versus, okay, happy ending, but then I think because of how we consume content, like, we want to see more. Like, we want to see, like, what's going to happen now that they're all united. Like, obviously, uniting is not going to be as easy as everyone coming to a feast and enjoying a party.
Right, yeah.
There's probably all this, like, political drama that could totally take place when the lands become united. It's not like like Qin Dynasty China. Like, it wasn't solved with Jet Li sacrificing himself and then woohoo, China. Like, that's we know, like, we know that humanity is not going to make it as, like, that's why they're called fairy tales.
Right. It is very fantastical in that way. And I think it, for what it is, it is very good. Because it's tough not to make the comparison to, like, Avatar.
Yeah.
But a lot of the reason that you get so much gratification at the end of Avatar is because of how much that each character individually has done for their respective cultures, for other cultures, understanding different people and different societies and everything, and understanding each other. That there is so much payoff in the finale of Avatar, whereas in this one, in Raya, there's very clearly a lot of stuff. There's a lot of time that is skipped on, just the river travel itself, and some character introductions have to get very rushed. Like Tong, I love Tong. Tong's a great character, but his whole intro and joining the team was very, like, very just right there. Yeah. Right, and it happens right away. Of course, he's the most. I guess he's because he's the most likable character from the get-go. Yeah. It made it easy, but it would have been nice to see more of that character development arc to have that final understanding of, like, what's going on in Spine, what they're on about, sort of thing. Yeah. It would have given it more payoff, but for a movie, it did really well. It is it's a little tropey, but it serves the right purpose, and it is it doesn't have to be super groundbreaking or anything. It's good for what it is.
I feel like I guess one criticism, I don't know if it was criticism, but there were so many blink and you'll miss it moments, right? Like, because the visuals were so much, right? Like, when they would pan over to something and that would be the context clue that you would need. We were eating, so I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna miss something, if I'm, like, looking down and eating, because, like, there's all these context clues about these people and these characters when they get introduced. You're right in that Tong was, like, introduced so fast, because then, like, all of a sudden it pans to an empty crib, and then it pans to outside and all the people are frozen, and all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden it goes into, like, their conversation of, like, oh, you're alone, and blah, blah, blah. And this was all happening so fast to me as well, because I'm still just sitting there like, who is the voice actor? I was like, this guy sounds like Wong. Is it Wong? You know, is it Wong from Doctor Strange? Because his voice was so distinct. So I was too busy thinking about his voice, and like I barely absorbed the visual context clues that all skipped around, and like the camera was so fast and like showed all these things like a little too fast for me. But that I think that I want to feel like that kind of visual tool is very anime like Japanese anime where there's like hints and Easter eggs, I guess, of like and there's just so much care into every all frame of animation that you just have to have your eyes peeled for all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that it's like too much of a criticism. It's more speaking to how how meticulous every scene is. Like you have to really look at it and be absorbed by it to get all the clues. So yeah. Cool. Any fun stuff? Any last words? Any like last comments about the film or experience? Like, I know you didn't watch the trailer, you just heard me talk about it. And I think I feel like I like maybe hyped you up, and that it's like, oh, it's gonna be better than live action Mulan, like for sure, because of X, Y, and Z. So, anything you want to share?
I thought it was good. It was a really mature, and I think a really true handling of Asian mythology, of the whole Asian aesthetic and everything. I thought it was great. I love the. I just can't get over the fact that the fight scenes were like pretty dope. Because it was pretty cool to see. Because it's a fighting is a really traditional part of Asian culture too. So it was nice to see all of that. I think that's basically all I've got. It was great. Outfits were great. Props were great. Stylistic choices were great.
Cool.
It's very solid.
That's great. Thanks for joining us in the chat, Anarchy Studies. We have been talking about Raya and the Last Dragon. We just watched it on Disney Plus, and we seem to have really positive reactions to the film itself. Not just because it has like really great elements of Southeast Asian representation. The voice acting is diverse, and the world building. Yeah, I would say the world building. I feel like we're both really impressed with the world building of it, of how immersive it was in that short amount of time, and it kind of leaves you wanting more from that world. The story and the visuals were a lot to take in. So if you haven't watched it yet, I would say pay attention, because I feel like I could have easily missed something. So I feel like it's but I also feel like it's a rewatchable film, because there are some Disney films that I can't rewatch for one reason or another. I'm like, I'm done looking at this film. But I feel compelled to rewatch Raya to see if I can spot anything that I missed.
And it helps that each region is also so visually distinctive, not just in clothing and environment, but that they all have like a different vibe. It's almost that it kind of feels like a TV series, right? Because it's like the first place was Tale, so it was it was like Raya alone, lone wanderer, wandering through and everything, and then the Talon people were all like nightlife sort of merchants and everything. It was almost a spy movie in a way, sort of, and I thought every locale is great. The dynamics change really quickly, so that you always do have something to look at, something to think about. You're never too bogged down by the lore drop, or this is just a comedy section. It's like it's always interchanged with each other.
Everything was really blended in well. So Aniki, to answer your question, it is rewatchable. I've definitely rewatched Inside Out more than once. There are emotional moments in it for sure. There's a father-daughter dynamic that hits me personally. It's different for me. And I would say it is rewatchable like Tangled, because it definitely follows the Disney pacing versus the Pixar pacing. Have you seen Inside Out yet?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah. So Inside Out, what's another world? Coco is Pixar as well. So that has really different emotional pacing, but I think I was kind of forewarned by someone else who watched it, who said this is very Disney action pacing, where it's not going to pull on your heartstrings as strong as a Pixar movie. So like Coco, Coco and Up and all those, and Inside Out hits me really hard too. But it definitely had that Disney pacing, because it didn't feel like 2 hours. It definitely felt really fast. It did feel, like we were commenting earlier about, it did feel like a TV series finale, where finally encompasses everything, and the we have a happy ending at the end of the season. Kind of feeling. So I think my consensus is that I would want to rewatch it again to catch any minor details. I'm really I'm really impressed with the diversity and I think the care that was taken into the animation, into the world building. There was some for some reason when it with all of those establishing shots, and it would say the name of the place, it definitely gave me Endgame, Marvel.
It was a Marvel. It was so very Marvel movie. Talent. Panning shot. No, it was super. It definitely felt like an action movie sometimes. Like a. But it was good. It was a good adventure story. And the only emotional stuff is only because they use one word, one word that we know, that we use, so our mother tongue, and then it's just, it hits different, so it's
imagining how. I mean, we reacted so emotionally to Coco. If we were of the Latinx, of the Mexican community, how powerful would that film be if we were in that community? So I think that is that's one benefit that of this film is we can see and feel familiar cultural things in this film. Aniki Studies said it really hit different in Mexico. And they also, you've also said Moana is the middle ground between Disney and Pixar movies. Moana's journey definitely. Did you watch Moana?
Yeah.
Okay, Moana's journey.
Moana's grandma too.
Oh my god, grandma. Yeah. So us being in our ethnic background, there is so much grandma stories and elder stories, to the point that our schools took us to watch it. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. But so Coco hits us really deeply, because in our own culture we have similar Day of the Dead ceremonies, right? And in Chinese culture and in Vietnamese culture, there's similar holidays that do the same thing, like going to cemeteries, cleaning tombs, and putting pictures of family members on altars. Like they're like, that is a cultural concept that all organically came to be in so many diverse cultures, right? Like that for some reason, like, that's a shared thread between many cultures of ancestor worship and ancestor like veneration and paying homage to ancestors. So this so like I feel like there wasn't too much of that in this film. Like, oh, like we expected that in Mulan. In like live action Mulan.
Yeah, and then we didn't get shit.
Yeah. But then in this one, like, were there any cultural mores that was portrayed in this film? Because at this point I feel like I don't remember too much. I feel like it was very much like an adventure movie.
Yeah, it was definitely very much an adventure movie. You know, there was the scene where they're putting the flowers into the river. That reminded me it reminded me of something that I feel like is reminiscent of sort of Asianish traditions. But there's nothing that's like very prominently sort of like anything from the specific culture besides just like the whole, you know, sort of respect your elders sort of vibe that it gets, besides the whole mythos of the dragons. That's the main thing, which, to be frank, you know, it's okay that they don't, you know, they don't add that kind of stuff, because the way that they treated, you know, the parts of the culture that they did use, like the dragons, is done very well and very accurately. You know, the fact that the dragons are life givers, they bring the rain, they're water creatures. It was very in tune with the culture. And I think. Also, I guess that learning how to fight is a given in that culture. And you know what, that I hate to rag on more about live action Mulan that we do like every time we watch a movie now. But I appreciate that they didn't go the normal sort of route of like, I am a woman, but I was taught to fight, but I'm not allowed to fight. You know, that they just like, you know, didn't even think about that, got rid of it, because it's like that's such a specific sort of thing of that like old school
girls aren't supposed to fight.
Sort of thing. That like I feel like it's been overstated too much, and it's been done wrong too many ways. That I appreciate that all we see is we never see any like any hints of that. It's literally just when we're first introduced to Raya, she's a badass. And she almost beats her dad, and her dad is like, "You have done well," and all the protagonists, all the main cast are females, and that's never, you know, it's never like, "Why are you doing this? You're a girl." It's like, no, that's just normal. Which is, it's a very good choice in my opinion. To not focus on that aspect, and to just focus on the story that they're trying to tell, the moral that they're trying to tell, of forgiveness, of trustfulness, and all of that.
You're right. Yeah, it's like the chiefs of the different tribes were naturally female, or like most of them were female,
I think like two out of the 5, 2 or 3.
Yeah, at all the different points, like the old lady. Like,
oh yeah,
that one's my favorite. Yeah. So the old lady was the chief, the savage chief, like, who reveals herself at the end, which is really cool. And yeah, you're right. Like, I'm glad that there was no insertion of gender problems.
Yeah.
It was just a more like a raw story. Like, yeah, I think that's why I kind of asked you earlier of, like, how would you feel if this Raya and the Last Dragon was two men trying to fight the dragon, instead of two women competing against each other for the dragon. And that, I think that was really telling, in that it was, like, finally, like, a piece of storytelling that doesn't need an overt gender-based story. It's just, it's a story that can naturally flow, and it feels right. It doesn't it didn't feel forced that Raya and her rival are girls fighting for each other, fighting against each other. It was just right. The storytelling was correct.
Yep.
And like, there's no romance. There's no love story.
That's right. There's no romance. There's zero romance.
Yeah.
Because they're all children. There shouldn't be.
What? Because, like, 12 plus 6, I guess, is 18. But yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. But yeah, they're all. There's no romance subplot. There's no like prince that she that she rescues and they fall in love. It's that you're totally right. There is literally nothing about romance, which is it's a very bold move for Disney, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like almost every Disney flick that I can think of has a romance plot.
The formula.
Yeah, the formula.
You will slightly fall in love with this character,
Like, Frozen, all the classic Disney movies, obviously.
Live action Mulan.
Live action Mulan with the dude that I can't remember the name of because he doesn't matter. I can't remember. I don't know if that many Disney movies don't try to force that, like, subplot in. And it's very nice that it's a very focused story. Very focused story about Raya, her character development, her character arc, her journey. And then completing it at the end after getting all this knowledge, going to all these places and doing the thing, saving the world.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Yes, no romance. Finally. Yeah, because, like, and I guess they I don't know if they were to try and put a romance, would they make the two girls, like, would it be that bold and, like, make the two girls, like, fall for each other at the end? But then that would have been too forced too.
That would be too much.
That would be too much. No, I think the vibes that I was getting was in the beginning when the girls are playing together. I'm like, ooh. Like, when she brought up single parents and, like, single mom, single dad, and I was like, are the two chiefs gonna get married and, like, have a strategic
alliance?
Yeah, strategic alliance.
They're gonna be stepsisters.
Yeah, by getting married, and I was like, is this the story? But then it turned out to be something else. And I was like, oh. I was like, is this gonna be France and England? Kind of joining together. So that was nice, because I was like half expecting that romance between the parents would be the cause of why they would be enemies in the future, but it turned out to be the evils of the world were taking over. So I'm glad it wasn't like a stepsister thing, because that was definitely what, like, when you like consume so much TV and movies, you can sometimes it's kind of a game of, like, I'm gonna predict the end. Like, I'm gonna, like, is that guy the bad guy because, like, he looked a certain way, or like, oh, that,
which one is the is the main romance option?
Yeah.
It's probably that one.
There was one meme of, like, Law and Order, of, like, you will always see the villain in the first 10 minutes or something, and it's like, oh, which one's the villain? You know, it was like before the first commercial break, you'll see the villain of every Law and Order, and it's like, is that true? You know, it's like, which one was the villain? Yeah. Oh, there's a comment here. Can you imagine if Brave had kept the same director throughout their production? Did Brave have different directors?
I guess so. I didn't know that actually.
Oh, okay.
Would have probably been.
Are they purple and queer coded?
Definitely a villain, yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you didn't hear earlier, we felt like we felt like there wasn't like a true villain, that like there wasn't a true human villain.
Yeah.
In that the real villains is like you are your own worst enemy, in terms of you had to learn how to trust people, and so that really, I feel like that resonated with like Raya not being able to trust people, and then Sisu trusting people, like really was I think it was a big lesson that I've learned over the years too, is like learning how to trust people, and being open-minded about meeting new people, because like if you've been burned before, if you've been hurt before, then it's really hard to trust new people again. So that was, I think that's a great lesson for kids, and I feel like the way that it's portrayed in this film, like young kids, elementary school I think they would catch on of like, oh, the two girls, like they were fighting this whole time, and like they learned to like care for each other at the end, and that's super cool.
Yeah.
So I definitely felt that.
It's a great message, and it's a very different message.
Yeah.
You know, it's one that you really don't see that often. The whole forgiveness thing, because it's either they were, you know, they always, the only thing I could think of is like the Winter Soldier, like Captain America, you know. It's like, there's still good in you, I can feel it, but it's like legitimately for the first 90 minutes of the film, Ryan and Amari were gonna kill each other.
Yeah.
But in the end, they learned to have forgiveness and trustfulness, and it's a great lesson. I mean, it's one that I still need to learn. So I think it's a really good thing to put out there. Because there's already so many children's movies and films and everything that have a clear-cut villain that's like, you are the bad guy, and you should hate this guy, and he needs to die or get locked up in jail, or fall down a hole, and who knows what happened to him, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like Frozen, or basically just any Disney movie, really.
Yeah.
Of just like this is clear cut bad guy, and at the end they'll get their comeuppance. Don't worry. But the fact that they kind of flip the switch on you, and that the person that you think is gonna be the main villain, and she's gonna die, turns out to be, forgiven, and redeemed, is a very good message.
That's a great point. Oh yeah, Aniki. Yes. So, I mean, technically, the villain or the evil thing that's in Raya is like this purple mist that captures people. So purple, they're villainous. There was no gender with them. It's just like an evil mist that takes over. But yeah, they're the true villain.
It's always it always is purple, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, what other villains are purple?
Thanos.
Oh, Thanos is purple. Ursula in Little Mermaid is purple. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's real purple. Yeah. And yeah, there's always like blue or purple light. Yzma, thank you. Hades is blue, but he's like electric blue and evil blue. Azula has blue fire. Yeah, Yzma from Ever's New Groove is purple. Yeah. Yeah, so this is definitely new age Disney in that it was 3D animation versus 2D, so it definitely felt more real, definitely more world building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like all of those pan shots. Yeah, that's why I thought of like Endgame, right? They're like going back and forth between all the different locations.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Yeah, there's so many purple things. So yeah, when you watch Raya, you'll see what the purple evil things are for sure. But yeah, the great conversation. I wonder what is next. Like, what's the next, I guess, like anticipated movie or even TV review that we should like consider. Otherwise, we're just gonna read books, or I'm gonna read books, and we're gonna recall historical facts from the last like 2 centuries or something.
Yeah. I don't really know, but I'm very pleasantly surprised with Raya. Mm-hmm. It's after live action Mulan, it's definitely a great step in the right direction to go for something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I look forward to more. I hope we see more of things like Raya, or even Raya 2, Electric Boogaloo. I don't know. But it was great, and I would give it a thorough recommendation.
Yeah.
And hope the next movie that we watch is half as interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think I was telling our sister to show it to Joey and Jax, because I said that it was super good, but I think they are gonna wait for it to go on like regular Disney Plus. Like they don't want to.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. So $29.99 it can be. If it's a barrier to enjoying it, then yeah, you can definitely wait. What was so we couldn't watch it at the drive-in tonight because they stopped showing it last week, because now they're showing Godzilla versus Kong. So there so there are drive-in movie theaters that are open where we live, but it like really limited films, and they were showing Raya for I think about a month. Yeah, for a month now, but it just switched to Godzilla versus Kong. Yeah, so if you want to watch that, then you can watch it at the drive-in. That'll be super.
May
super fun.
May 5th is when it comes off premiere.
Oh, cool! All right.
So that's pretty soon.
Yeah. Definitely want to. I definitely want to shout out, like, May is Asian Pacific Islander American Heritage Month in the U.S. So this film having Asian representation, API American voice actors and talent behind the scenes of the film, really cognizant and thoughtful cultural guidance in terms of creating the film is very highly appreciated. Like our Mulan. Our Mulan review is on YouTube, and we're pretty angry. we're pretty drunkenly angry during that one. So I feel like this is a breath of fresh air. We're like, oh, whew, we can enjoy a film for its story and not be nitpicking the cultural stuff, because the cultural stuff that they did do was balanced and wasn't overtly. There weren't any. I feel like there weren't any overt mistakes, like compared to live action Mulan. There's a lot of stuff with that. I wonder if we need to, I'm wondering, like, because of our interest, right? If we need to go back and see some other films, right? Because like I brought up Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Like, when was the last time you watched that movie?
Oh, like years ago. Probably 10 years ago at least.
Because I wonder if you would be interested in rewatching that. Because of the language, like the Atlantean language.
Yeah, probably, actually.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it would probably interest me.
Because I know that I'm sure that the Atlantean language is is made up, but they were borrowing so many elements from different cultures and linguistic elements. And what else is there? And then. Well, I mean, there's Atlantis: The Lost Empire, and do you know that they have a sequel?
There's a sequel.
So there's a straight-to-DVD sequel because they were intending to make a TV series with Atlantis: The Lost Empire, and make a TV series of the whole motley crew of Atlantis solving other mythological, historical cases, like saving the above water world, saving the earth world from other mythological creatures that were like remnants of Atlantis. But because it was a failed TV show, then they just condensed like 3 episodes into like a sequel movie. So I remember watching it on Netflix, but it may already be on Disney Plus as well. But I know that Atlantis: The Lost Empire, I feel like I've watched that so much because it was the film that made me, it was the film that I watched when I was like 10 that made me go into history and go into archaeology, go into linguistics. I remember like writing in like 6th grade, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I want to be a linguist and find Atlantis, because I was under the impression of like, oh, like Disney made this movie, but I'm gonna find the real Atlantis and find the blue people, you know, in Atlantis. So that's an interesting movie too for you, I think, to study the linguistics of it. And then there's all the conspiracy theories about Atlantis that I read about too, like as an adult. I'm like, this is a little weird. But yeah, anyway, so like that can be future things. Otherwise, yeah, I'm gonna try and keep reading the pirate book that you let me borrow, and if there's any other fun stories, we'll come back when our academic minds are ready to gab about some things. So so thank you for Anarchy Studies for chatting with us about Disney villains. Penguin Furt, thanks for joining us. We're just about to end our stream. We reviewed.
Catch the VOD though. Catch the VOD though.
Oh, okay.
It'll be up right after. Okay,
cool. Yeah. So we reviewed Raya and the Last Dragon. We recommend it. Please watch it and check it out on Disney Plus. Either now with Premiere Access, so like, I think that's $30, or after May 5th. And look into Asian and Pacific Islander heritage now and also next month. It's Asian Heritage Month in America next month, and support Asian populations in your area. Let's fight back against like the hate crimes that are occurring in our communities during this time. Oh, and Anarchy says we don't have a schedule. We're
sporadic.
Yeah, we're super sporadic. We're both like we're both academically minded, so time is an illusion to us. So thanks for catching us right now. Definitely follow, and we'll come back. We'll come back sometime, but so hopefully that explains enough that like we're two very crazy people where we like to talk about this stuff, but it hurts our brain sometimes because we're too busy like thinking about all of our other like research projects and other things. So this is like definitely like this is a side hobby and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely check us out. I guess if you want to follow us on our social medias and see what we're do in our real lives, I guess. And
the VODs are on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. So
yeah. Oh, biophysics. We don't know anything about biophysics. Procrastinating? Well, at least you're learning.
We know a lot about that.
we know a lot about procrastinating. So if you're interested, my background is in archaeology, art history, Asian Pacific Islander heritage, and like American heritage. So very much like the histories of Chinatowns in the United States. Museum studies, Asian American film is like I feel like that's my academic expertise. And then Vincent, what's your expertise for your academic expertise?
My academic expertise is revolved around just more general history and linguistics. I don't really have any sort of specializations like you do, but I have a lot of knowledge on warfare and a little bit about mythologies and culture and that sort of stuff. So, what was my area of interest called? War, revolution, and social change. That's my that's my official area that I got put in. But yeah,
I can never get it right. I was like, what's Vincent's concentration? War, politics, military.
Political science. I do a lot of that, and music. Though that doesn't really come up now in these conversations.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It could. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Anarchy. Yeah, so we're in San Diego, so we're right next to Tijuana. I do have a friend who grew up in Tijuana's Chinatown. Mexicali is I think an hour and a half from us. So yeah, I know all about the immigration history of Chinese people into the Americas, like Chinese Exclusion Acts, Asian immigration into Latin America is very interesting and so diverse and also underrepresented in media, or I would say even poorly represented sometimes, for sure. Tenochtitlan's Chinatown? Oh, that sounds cool. Wow. Did you do a research project? Oh no, yours Mayan languages and not Aztecan languages?
Yeah, it was Mixtec.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that Tenochtitlan has a Chinatown.
Ooh.
That's pretty dope.
That's cool.
We'll have to look into that then.
Yeah, we're gonna look it up. I like to read. I like to read. So if you have any book requests in the chat. Oh, that sounds really cool. Right after the conquest. Interesting.
I know. I know. Actually, a lot of Latin America, I think, has pretty rich Chinese immigration history. I know. I think Panama has a lot of Chinese immigration. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, because the Chinese Exclusion Acts were enacted by the 1870s and 1880s in both Canada and the United States. Therefore, all Asian immigration just had to subvert those. That's why Hawaii has such a strong Asian settlement, because it was British colony, also Britain fighting the U.S. and then Asian people in Hawaii. That's there's and taking the land from Native Hawaiians is a whole thing. And then the west coast of South America and Latin America is Mexico down to Brazil, Chile, Peru. There's not only Chinese populations, but there's definitely Japanese and Korean populations there too. And then even on the other side of Mexico, the what are they called? The Caribbean islands. So Cuba, Havana, Cuba had a huge Korean Chinese population. Oh, Wilfredo Lamb from Cuba was Chinese Cuban. All of those places I'm blanking out. Yeah, in Guanajuato there was a law abolishing interracial marriages between Asians and Mexicans. Yeah, definitely. There are definitely
a lot of those.
Yeah, there's a lot of unfortunately there's a lot of laws. Not only were they federal full government laws, or local laws, or just or you just had to be lucky if you were trying to intermarry. Yeah, it is crazy. Oh, I know that there is in southwestern United States, there is actually a population of generations of people where it was Sikh Indian men marrying Mexican women in southwest United States. So there's that interesting cultural blending there, is because in America, all the different states had all those different laws, either being very explicit about not allowing interracial marriages, but in terms of minorities, there's minorities can marry each other, but it's just barring Caucasians from marrying minorities. But yeah, I did read some. There was in one of my textbooks is that a lot of Sikh Indian men, the men with the Sikh head wraps, immigrated into southwestern U.S. I feel it's from the 40s to the 60s, and then married Mexican women who had been living in the Southwest United States for generations, and having those kind of blended families. So that was an interesting anecdote to read, though. So we kind of have like all of our brain powers combined is like a wide range of topics. So that's why it's hard to pin us down for a schedule, because we're just always thinking about all these different things. We all have work and stuff like that. So, but yeah, definitely follow and catch us next time, or watch the VODs of like previous ones. Episode 2 on Twitch was about Franz Ferdinand and
Queen Pharaoh.
Pharaoh Hatshepsut, Queen Hatshepsut. So that was a fun one. And then episode 1 is our Angry Mulan live action Mulan review, and that's on.
And they're both on YouTube, right?
Yeah, they're on YouTube. So thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for joining tonight. Hope to see you again soon. I hope you liked our Raya and the Last Dragon review. Check it out on Disney Plus. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.